proper worship. So, the outline of the lesson, just two, propriety in worship and then Lord's table. So, to follow yung conversation about the Christian freedom, the use of spiritual freedom, no? So, according to Richard Dorsley, the discussion of food sacrificed to idols comes in its climax in the mutually exclusive opposition between banqueting in pagan temples and sharing in the Lord's Supper. Okay? So both are related to eating, and both are, one is to a the pagan feast is, or pagan food is dedicated to a pagan deity, while the Lord's table is dedicated to Jesus. No? So after a brief comment on market food, private invitations to dinner, Paul then moves to a discussion of the Lord's Supper itself. The first two are clearly identified as traditions that Apostle establishes in his churches, a proprietary style or covering for men and women prophesying, and then distinctions between rich and the poor at the Lord's Supper. So this is the first topic for chapter 11. Look at this. These are sculptures portraying yung elegance of the braided hair that we see during the ancients for women. No? So this is another yung on the left, head coverings for men. Okay, this is for men, and then Caesar Augustus himself, uh, emperor during the time when Jesus was born, had his own respectable head covering. Still another here, a woman bringing. Notice in the forefront, no, at the far right, a woman bringing a sacrifice for the god Mars. She alone has her head covered, but the rest do not have a head covering. The males did not have a head covering. But Anthony Tisselton, most writers insist that this passage concerns the clothing of women rather than of men and women. But remember, this is about the culture, okay? And how culture permits how one thing is acceptable and another which is not. As Roland Barthes, among others, points out, clothes and hair or beards play a role in a semiotic system. Semiotic meaning signs, whether you are to be respected, whether you are to receive honor or not, which speaks volumes about self-perceptions of gender identity, class identity, a sense of vocation and respects or indifference towards. Mark Finney, certainly the logic of Paul's directives relies upon unspoken and undefended assumptions about particular aspects of first century culture. We say these are the unwritten codes of the land, non-written codes. Okay, so it is vital role of honor and shame within ancient life. There is no indication in the text either that Paul is presenting a new information, something that was already known to them, but it might be unknown to us. So Paul did not explain those parts, something that is common to them. Head coverings for men. The wearing of suitable apparel by men and women within Greco-Roman first century. Of course, this is for practical reasons. No? Rain, snow, yung dust, no? So you need to cover your face, no? So this is also for practical reasons. And of course, those wore by the Roman military, no? Yung legions and their dress arrangements, no? So honor and status, and to us we have insignias, no? In the military we have insignias, but for them they had yung yung ranks nila in the top of their helmets, no? That is how they determine rank. Indeed, one's attire often gave the clearest and most highly visible indication of social rank. It appears that in a public setting there was no element of freedom in male head attire. As for women, it would appear that when venturing outside the home, they would normally wear a head covering and a veil. Valerius Maximus describes how Sulpicius Gallus divorced his wife due to her appearing uncovered in public. No, no hair, no head covering for her hair. And Plutarch maintains that it is more usual for women to go forth in public. So what is done in public life, the women have their heads covered. And so without it, it's like you also do not have a dress, no? Yung prostitutes in that time, they do not have head coverings, no? Again, for them to be distinguished that they are a prostitute, something like that. Of course, I'm not saying they did not have it. Of course, yung sabi for practical purposes, it is needed by both men and women and even children. By Dio Chrysostom, no, Rights of the Convention regarding feminine attire, a convention which prescribes that women should be so arrayed and should so deport themselves when in the street that nobody could see any part of them, neither of the face nor of the rest of the body. They have their faces covered as they walk. Again, that is their custom. It is there is really no religious significance to it, no? So sometimes people would attach too much religious information to something that is not there. Considerations of normative male head coverings within a liturgy. So this is during worship. So they would not wear head coverings during worship, yung males, no? For here, the archaeological and literary evidence is unmistakably clear. For those elite or high status men taking a central role in sacrifice or worship, the Roman ethos was one in which the head was always covered. It is a distinguishing mark that if you are the head of the ceremony, no, you are the only ones wearing a head covering. Such attire was seen as an aid to religious devotion and piety. Let's move over to the conversation about Plutarch. Why is it that when they Romans worship the gods, they cover their heads, but when they meet any of their fellow men worthy of honor, if they happen to have the toga over the head, they uncover. Or they uncover their heads in the presence of men more influential than they. Again, yung rank and honor is being highlighted here. Siguro pwede na natin itong skip si Plutarch, yung moralia, no? Morals. The issue is one of honor. The man's head covering is a sign of self-abasement, of humble concealment. Yung yung self-abasement more on yung humble disposition to follow the what is fitting and proper as understood during the time. No. It also acts as a necessary safeguard when in prayer, a suitable aid in maintaining a singularity focus. It stands therefore as a visible symbol of reverence. No? So they would uncover their head coverings in order to show that their attention is not to themselves but towards God. Okay ba yun? Yun yung understanding there. That's the cultural understanding. It stands therefore as a visible symbol of reverence, because if you remove your head covering, you are just the same as with the level as other worshippers. For women, in the context of liturgical head coverings, the ancient data is more ambiguous. Now, head covering may have been customary at religious functions, and they were certainly expected because since they were outside of their homes, no? Within their homes, they could remove their head coverings, but since they're outside of their homes, they are showing their public image. Yung women during the time, they had their head coverings still during worship because the simple reason they're outside of their home. It's how they project their. Of course, it's of course had something to do with personal respect, no? Personal respect and honor. Siguro pwede na natin skip ito kasi yun. Mas interested ako yung sa ano eh. Yan, a veil or hood constituted a warning. It signified that the where was a respectable woman, that no man dare approach without risking penalties. As the attire of the woman had an impact on the honor of the man to whom she was related to. So when a wife rather wears her head covering, it also honors her husband. No? In summarizing the above, it would appear that with respect to public non-liturgical, those for not worship, head coverings, the available evidence relating to men is that they had the option of whether to be covered or not. But if covered, would uncover an on meeting an acquaintance. For women, so sa men, any other occasion. So there is really no strict rule no with regards to the wearing of head coverings during worship for men. For women, the expectation was that outside down, they would be accompanied and would have a head covering and possibly a veil. Sige. Pwede na natin itong skip yung head coverings for Jewish men. And then head coverings for Jewish women. Women in general were expected to be seen in public as little as possible because most of the time yung affairs nila were at home or in the marketplaces, no? Or preparation for food and water. A young unmarried girl may be allowed out without a head covering. But typically, a father would attempt to keep an unmarried daughter secluded from men as a safeguard against the danger of promiscuity or ano nga, yung basta yung mga bad things other people can do to her. The normal attire for married women in public was the wearing of a head covering and a veil. As in the Greco-Roman context, it's likely assumption that women did not wear a veil at home among skin. Christian Wolff appears to images within the synagogue, discovered that Dura Europus to claim that a woman's head covering would have covered only the head and not the face as well. There is, anyway, yan. Pwede na natin ito skip. Head coverings in Corinth. Ito, this is a feminist, si Elizabeth Husler Fiorenza. As becomes clear in 1115, the issue addressed in verse 5 and 13 is the arrangement of a woman's long hair, whether it should be let down or remain tied up when she is praying or prophesying. The problem was apparently that some women were letting their hair loose in an inspirational situation of prayer or ecstatic prophecy. Kasi ang idea, when it's loose hair, parang yung connotation na you are looking for sexual sexual experiences ganyan. Meron silang ganun connotation or you are a yung nga malandi, no? You are an evil woman, something like that. So they do not do that. The hair let loose during Christian worship during the in times sa Corinth, no? As done by kasi yun nga it is also yung comparison with pagan practices, no? That since you are now a believer of Christ, you have came out from a pagan Corinthian religion, you should keep being respectable, no? Siguro pwede na natin itong escape. Men with that covenants concurrent. Women with that covenants. Lord's table. Andyan siguro yun. Kay John MacArthur, in the culture of Corinth, a woman's covered head while ministering or worship was a symbol to signify a subordinate relationship to her husband. The apostle is not laying down an absolute law for women to wear veils, but is declaring that the symbols of the divinely established male and female roles are to be genuinely honored in every culture. Though men and women were both created in God's image, man's role uniquely reflects the glory of God. Like God, man is given a sphere of sovereignty as the earthly sovereign. It's about yung head coverings. So, women are to be, but again, yung nito, yung frequent argument ni John MacArthur is here, no? to be submissive by wearing the symbol of authority as to not to offend those most holy and submissive Christians who watch the church, who were present at creation and when God decided the order for authority of men. So, but to be clear, in Galatians 3:28, no, pantesgar, humis, is este, and Christo Jesu. For you are all in Christ Jesus. Nakalagay na pala dito yung translation. No? Parang cheating tuloy nangyari. No? 1 Corinthians 12:13. No, we pantes, we all were in a baptistemen. We were baptized into ASN Soma. Yan. One body. So, equality, yes, there's an argument of equality there.